doing something a little bit innovative today. I'm in bed, so I'm kind of lying down, but I'm propped up. I'm sitting up um, because there was an ice storm and nobody can leave the house. So I'm sequestered to a bedroom in my 900 square foot house, and I have to record in here. I guess I could stand up in my bedroom, but that I might as well just be in bed. Okay. I'm a little shocked that I even have power and the ability to record this. Um, but I do, which also means that I do have to work. Huge bummer. But let me get into my news updates for the week. Um, Update from last week, I reported on Foster's Market um, having a terrible health code violation, number of health code violations. I had a thought about that. Is it the best time to eat at a restaurant right after they've been in severe violation of health? Because that's the time when they're going to be most on their game. Because you know they're going to slip. They're eventually going to slip and fall back into their ways. Um, I was also thinking about their sort of dreary merchandise setup and how it's reflective of their health practices, their health and safety standards, I guess, which I didn't think about when I was in there. Didn't know I was about to get sick. So don't go there unless you're trying to get sick. Um, anyway, another thought I had was that leftover drinking chocolate. I have a little bit of leftover drinking chocolate in a jar, and I thought it would be so good in coffee as a mocha. Haven't tried it yet because I don't like drinking sugar in the morning, but I am thinking about it. Um, Major news update from Vogue. They have declared that 2026 is the year of the cabbage. There are cabbage articles all over the internet now. I think everybody just realized that it's a vegetable. Cabbage is around every year. Cabbage has always been here. I mean, not always, but people make cabbage every year. Cabbage has been a thing. People have been addicted to cutting a cabbage into 4 wedges and roasting it for the last 5 years. We all know that cabbage exists. Um, so I don't know. I mean, I know Anna Wintour isn't there anymore, and the latest covers from Vogue have been absolutely whack. It's going under real quick. Foreign Vogues, international Vogues are still, and always have been, really killing it, I would say. In high school, I was really into Vogue and Italian Vogue specifically. They always hired the best photographers, and they probably still do. I mean, I don't even know who was on the covers. Like Timothy Chalamet was on a cover recently. It looks like a joke. Like it looks like they're trying to destroy the magazine. Best of luck to them. Speaking of magazines, Gourmet Magazine is back. My mom always had Gourmet Magazine in the house. Gourmet, Saveur, all the food magazines of the 90s and the aughts. Apparently they're back. I found out about this through Instagram, and I guess the workers, whoever owned Gourmet, let the trademark expire. And so I think a bunch of former employees got together and re-trademarked it and now own Gourmet Magazine. It's very Gen Z millennial cusp branding, I would say. It's like, aspirational food branding, Grazza. It's kind of that, but it's like a little bit more messy, like I don't know. I'm going to wait and see what happens. But right now I'm like, okay, it feels like they're trying too hard. And I think I am very exasperated and over food media. I'm really tired of aspirational, heavily curated, overly stylized food media. Will this be any different? Is this just another outlet with highbrow think pieces on someone's travels in Kazakhstan? I don't know. Bring back Gawker is my advice, and their best restaurant in New York is ... series. That was true food freedom. That was true food reporting. I need more real food reporting. I need more real people. I'm tired of it all. I think that's why the Bon Appetit test kitchen was so exciting, especially Claire Saffit's like trying to recreate like highly processed products like Little Debbie snacks, and watching her struggle and mess up and have to Google stuff for an hour and try and figure out what was going on. That was so refreshing. It was so real. People messing up, not knowing what they were doing. I mean, I just don't think that food magazines are quite there yet, but we'll see. I've linked their Instagram. Let's check it out for a second and see if they post anything new. Gourmet Magazine. Their bio is a certain media conglomerate slept on the trademark. Oh, it always is trying to make me log in. So it is our food magazine now, like the old Gourmet, but worker owned. So they have Pork Cooked in Milk by Alison Roman. Yeah, we'll see. Could be good. Could be annoying. Next food update. Nigella Lawson is replacing Prue Leith on Great British Bake Off, which is interesting. I recorded a celebrity food log, I don't know, like 4 months ago, of Nigella Lawson's food log from about 10 years ago. And it is my most popular episode. And I can't figure out why. People keep listening to it. I know that Nigella Lawson is in the news a lot more compared to the other celebrities I'm talking about, who are basically dormant. So she's got a lot going on. She does a lot of nonprofit work. So we'll see if that episode continues to be the most popular. Got a pecan update for you. I thought of a new usage for the bag of pecans in my freezer. Turtles. What if I made turtles? I love caramel. What do you call them? The caramel and pecan chocolate covered turtles. I've never even tried to temper chocolate in a home environment. I'm pretty sure I could do it. I've only done it in like a bakery pastry environment. I don't think it would be that hard. I think the key, which I actually learned from Bon Appetit's test kitchen when Solo was there, is to use a huge bowl, which I think is always a good tip. When you're hand whipping whipped cream, the bigger the bowl, the easier it is, I found. So I'll consider doing that. I got a tip from my former employer, whose food log we read last week from her travel to Ohio. Isaac's Bagels in the Triangle have incredible donuts during the week of Hanukkah. Unfortunately, I missed it. She only told me about this now. But what are they called? Sufganiyot. Sufganiyot. Hot tip. Apparently they're amazing. And this former employer of mine is a donut expert, I would say, of the Triangle. She tries them all. So she knows a good donut. Got some more listener feedback. I'm torn between protecting people's identities, especially when there's a child involved. Had a listener tell me that they were listening to my the scalding of my throat when I was drinking warm hot chocolate that fooled me because the whipped cream was cool on top. A listener told me that their child often does this. So I am living the life of a child, apparently, and I'm a little bit worried. Okay, I have scent reviews. More scent reviews. I thought I was done. I went through all my Le Labo samples. And I was like, yeah, I think I've identified the pieces of each perfume that I actually like and want. And I'm ready to like order a bigger order of samples, which I did. It's actually supposed to come today. I don't know if any vehicle is going to be able to deliver it to me because the world is covered in ice. But in the meantime, I forgot that I ordered a bunch of Diptyque samples per Carrie from Sexy Unique podcast. He recommended Diptyque. He said that Le Labo's kind of over. It's been compromised by the bros. You know, everybody in Dime Square is wearing Santal and has been for a while now. So he says Diptyque. He said, quote, "It's for the girls and the gays." I fit into that category, so I'm going to go through the scents. And spoiler alert, I was disappointed. Okay, so first I tried Fleur de Peau. Smells like a Cabbage Patch Kid doll fell into a bathtub, was my review. Smells like if you sprayed a Cabbage Patch Kid with Prada de Riz. Clean, soapy smell, but with underlying warm, powdery Cabbage Patch Kid scent, which makes sense because it is the website describes it as an iris magnolia musk fragrance. Speaking of Cabbage Patch Kids, I'm considering going to the doll hospital in Georgia. What's it called? There's like a Cabbage Patch Kid hospital, and then there's a giant like cabbage patch, and these women dressed up as nurses pull the cabbages out of the ground, and they're actually Cabbage Patch Kid dolls. I went there when I was very young with my cousins who lived in Georgia, probably still do. I mean, they still live there. And anyway, apparently it's still open, even though people aren't really into Cabbage Patch Kids anymore. So yeah, might go down there just to get a whiff of some Cabbage Patch Kids. Okay, next scent, Diptyque L'Ombre dans l'eau. Rose, black currant buds, petit grain, black currant leaves is the description. Here's my description. This smells old, like a potpourri satchel my mother had, and I took it and hid it in my room when I was little. Musty rose. Didn't like that one. Okay, Diptyque d'Auson. This one's supposed to be popular. The official description is tuberose, orange blossom, jasmine, and amberwood. My description is this smells like a Nordstrom's in 2004 or honeysuckle. Okay, Diptyque Eau Capitale. The official description is rose, bergamot, patchouli, pink peppercorn. My description is the rose makes this feel old. Le Labo does rose in a fresh, bright way in comparison. I really love a peppery tropical plant smell, which I thought would come through with the pink peppercorn description, but it really doesn't come through in this Diptyque Eau Capitale. I think that was another popular one. Next, Diptyque Eau Rose, another perfume that smells like a dusty old rose. And if I did drops, if I had a soundboard for this podcast, I would hit play on the Bad Baby sound where she says, "She looks like every other bitch," because this one smelled like every other Diptyque perfume. The official description is Damascena and Centifolia, 100 petal roses. Chamomile, lychee, artichoke. I don't know where they got those. Yeah, it just smelled like another dusty old rose. And then I got the Diptyque Philosicos. The official description is fig leaves, fig tree sap, fig tree wood, black pepper. Thought I would love this. I do love a fig smell, but it really just smells like any old fig spray you could get at like Bed Bath & Beyond, but with like warm undertones ones. I don't know. I am going to say there are a couple others I could order, but I think I'm going to pass on Diptyque for now. I still think Le Labo is a tier above. And I'm going to say bring back Gap's fresh cut grass scent from the 90s. When you go to the Gap in the 90s, at the counter, they would have these square bottles of a scent called fresh cut grass. Bring it back. So anyway, I thought this was a really helpful exercise to cross-reference scent components and pick out which scents I actually like, which I mentioned before, but it's also reminding me of the time I went to a French perfumery in a small town in the south of France in high school, and we got a tour of how they made the perfumes, but it was in French, so I didn't learn anything. When I got to college, I did take 4 semesters of French because at the time that band Chromeo was really big. Sometimes I still get emails from them and I'm shocked that they're still making music or playing shows. But the main person in the band, Dave One was his name. His brother is A-Track, that DJ. He was a French teacher at my college. And so I took French thinking that I would get him as a teacher, and I didn't. So 4 semesters of French, I can read French. I mean, I've studied all the other Romance languages, so it's pretty much the same thing. But if someone is speaking French, in terms of my ability to understand my cognition, I might as well be asleep because I don't know what they're saying. Okay, let's talk about the internet. I kind of already have, but this is very internet specific. Corey Larkin, one of my favorite TikTok people who just makes potato and cream recipes, says that a restaurant near her house, I think she's in Orange County, California, a restaurant near her house serves chicken pot pie over strips of puff pastry like a bloomin' onion. So she recreated it. She made strips of puff pastry and then she laid them in a bowl, kind of overlapping in a circle. And then she baked it in the bowl. So the parts that were coming up the sides of the bowl and hanging over were nice and crisp, but the middle of the bowl looked soggy. Anyway, then she removed it from the bowl. She basically made a puff pastry bowl and then poured the loose chicken pot pie filling into the center of that. She made a taco salad is what's going on. It didn't really hold. It kind of like fell apart. And I would just say, just make strips and bake them as strips so that you have the maximum crispness. That's my recommendation for myself. 90-day update. I am including TV on my internet updates because we're all watching TV via the internet these days. 90 Day Fiance, before the 90 days, I believe. There's a woman named Lisa who wears huge wigs. She's really the best thing that has happened to the show in a long time. The issue with 90 Day and with Real Housewives and with so many reality shows is that there are so many more influencers on the shows now, and it really sort of alters the gameplay or the vibe of the show. If you go back and watch an original season of Housewives, it's all like women who have lives and they're doing other things and you're kind of following around and seeing what they're doing. Now it's just people who are on a show full time, going on vacation and buying clothes. It's super boring. So this woman, this 90-day woman, Lisa, I'm so glad I found her because she's very much like season 1 through 4 of 90 Day. Like just a lady living out in, I don't know, like Missouri or something. Anyway, she's being scammed by a man in Nigeria, I think. I don't remember. She's probably going to marry him. Anyway, she says that she kept chickens as pets in the United States, and she would she put a TV in their chicken coop and they watched VHS tapes all day. Not really food related, but you can eat chicken, so it's kind of related. Okay. TikTok video. Let me just click on it because I forget what it is. TikTok. Oh, Amish Miracle Fudge. Right. Let me just see what's going on. It's called Amish Miracle Fudge. It's rich and smooth, chocolatey, melts right on your tongue. Here's how we make it. High quality cocoa powder in a mixing bowl. Add maple syrup, a few drops of vanilla, a pinch of salt, and coconut oil. Refined coconut oil. You warm it up and pour it in liquidy, stir it all together, and then you put it in an ice cube tray, and then it hardens. My favorite comment from the video is, quote, eating 90% oil as a recipe is crazy, which was my thought exactly. So well said. Okay, next TikTok video. I got this video of a woman named Janet Marie whose her hair was insane. It was the biggest, straightest, like she looked like she was wearing a helmet, like a space helmet. And she starts talking to you, and all of a sudden she pulls out a container of Tempty cream cheese. So my comment was, what did I write? I wrote, and first of all, this video had like 10 views when I wrote this. I wrote like, I was not expecting this video to be about cream cheese. Show us how you do your hair. Sometimes I write a comment and it blows up, and that's what's happening. Every time I go into TikTok, it's like 1,000 notifications. But since then, this video has blown up so much that there are so many more prominent comments with 200K likes, whatever. So this woman's life changed overnight, basically, because she talked about Tempty cream cheese. She says it's the best. I looked it up. They're owned by Kraft. It's a whipped cream cheese. I really like the container. It's pink and blue. It kind of reminds me of Brahms identity branding. Brahms is that fast food chain in Oklahoma that uses mostly local ingredients. So Janet Marie, she reviews products, but her life is different now, probably. Martha Stewart posted a baked potato pic on Instagram that was absolutely insane. I've talked about Martha Stewart's. Of course, it's blocking me because I'm not signed in. Okay, Martha Stewart 48. A simple dinner of huge Idaho baked potato, a bit of butter, a dollop of creme fraiche, and lots of whoa, I'm having a seizure. Ocetra caviar for my dear friend. I served a green salad from my vegetable greenhouse, a cup of winter vegetable soup, and a dessert composed of daughter Alexis's raisin walnut meringues with warm caramel sauce and vanilla ice cream, perfect for a cold winter night. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's insane how, she's put out over 100 books. She's been doing this for decades, and she's posting photos that are insane. Like, someone teach her how to use a camera. Is she doing it on purpose? I know this has been discussed. It is a phenomenon with Martha. I don't know. Like, somebody help her. I was watching Office Hours, Tim Heidecker's podcast, and they showed a video of this woman who put cheese in her coffee. There's a Reddit thread in the subreddit Stupid Food called Cheese Coffee. And mean, she puts like 3 huge chunks of blueberry cobbler flavored cheddar in her coffee. And there's some comments on here that people actually do this in Colombia and Puerto Rico in their hot chocolate, which is interesting. Let's see. I saw a post the other day. I think it was on Instagram. Maybe it was Food 52. I thought they went bankrupt, so I don't know what they're doing, posting on the internet. But somebody did a roundup of the best confetti cake recipes. They did a recipe off. They did like Claire Saffitz, Martha Stewart, a bunch of different names. And spoiler alert, Sally's Baking Addiction won. Sally's Baking Addiction always wins. You don't even need to click through the article. That's all you need to know. Her articles always win. My mom used to send me her stuff a lot, and I was like, who the hell is Sally? Stop sending me this woman's recipes. How do you know if they're even good? Well, we have proof now, unless she's paying for this to happen. Apparently she has the best recipes. I don't know if I've personally ever made any of her recipes, but I aim to. And I guess the last update from the internet is that I am still emotionally recovering from watching multiple episodes of that show, The Pit, on HBO Max. It's a hospital show that, according to medical professionals, is actually realistic, actually medically accurate. I can't watch this show. I don't want to know about more things that could happen to me that I could think about. I don't want to know about diseases I didn't know about, things that could happen to you. I don't want to know about it. I can't watch these kind of shows. I didn't know that you could break your face and it could float in your skull, and they call it floating face. I don't want to know about that. So I had to separate from Brian last night, and he watched it in a separate room. Not for me. Okay, I'm going to get into what I ate last week, which starts off January 19th, 2026. It was a Monday, 8 a.m. Counterculture coffee with half and half, made at home. 1:30 p.m. A bean burrito, an avocado ranch stacker, and a beefy potato stacker from Taco Bell in Oxford, North Carolina. 3 p.m. 2 sugar-free lemon lime Jello cups. 6 p.m. Napa cabbage stuffed with ginger pork and basmati rice and an oyster sauce broth and S&B chili crisp made at home. And 7:30 p.m. Bluebell cherry vanilla ice cream. Okay. I think this was MLK Day, so I didn't have work, so I went to Taco Bell. My sister recommended their new items, the avocado ranch stacker, and then they had a beefy potato burrito, which they served to me in the form of a stacker. Doesn't really matter. It's all the same thing at the end of the day. I wasn't really impressed with any of these, but they were good. And then I binge ate 2 sugar-free lemon lime Jello cups. Again, I'm going to talk about the milkshake study. Eat full fat. I need to eat full fat and not restrict myself. Otherwise, I binge. Eat sugar-free lemon lime Jello cups until the fridge is empty. Okay, cabbage recipe in celebration of 2026, which is the year of the cabbage. So I saw a video that Corey Larkin did where she made a stuffed cabbage pie that had a layer of cooked rice on the bottom and then more of a traditional flavor profile of stuffed cabbage with like a tomato sauce, cooked in a tomato sauce. And she rolled the cabbage and made a spiral of it over the bed of rice. But I was also really wanting to do something with the flavor profile of a Chinese lasagna. So I'm going to use my least favorite term in the world and say I did an Asian twist. And I did these cabbage rolls. They were good. I'd make it again. Let me tell you what I did. Ingredients: 9 large Napa cava leaves, 1 pound of ground pork, 4 garlic cloves grated, 3 inches of ginger grated, 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 tablespoon sugar, 1 teaspoon chili flakes. Ooh, my computer's frozen. Okay. 1 teaspoon sesame oil, half an onion, finely diced, 1.5 cups of cooked basmati rice. And then for the broth, I used 300 milliliters of chicken stock, homemade, 2 tablespoons of oyster sauce, 1 teaspoon of apple cider vinegar, 1 teaspoon chicken bouillon powder, and 1 tablespoon of sugar. So I thawed some ground pork, grated ginger, and garlic into it. A ton of ginger. I think the ginger is really key. Salted it with some soy sauce, seasoned with garlic powder, sugar, chili flakes, sesame oil, the onion, and then I mixed with the cooked rice once it was all cool. And then I took those 9 large cabbage leaves and I ran them under really hot water until they had softened. I guess you could also parboil them. And then I cut out the large stem end, I cut out a large triangle, and then stuffed them and rolled them up. And then I placed them into a lightly oiled, 8 or 9 inch cake pan. And when you rolled them up, they kind of look like seashells, like a scallop shell. And I sort of just packed them in there, kind of into a swirl, and poured the broth over it. And I baked it at 350 for 40 minutes, and then I turned it up to 425, and until the tops of the cabbages started to brown and the sauce was bubbling. Oh, I also added I'll write it in, 1 tablespoon of cornstarch, just to thicken up the sauce a little bit. And that was great. Okay, January 20th, 2026. It was a Tuesday. 8 a.m. Culture coffee with half and half made at home. 10:30 a.m. A bowl of bran flakes with milk. 2 p.m. A handful of rippled potato chips and a handful of tortilla chips. 6 p.m. Macaroni and cheese with poached chicken thighs and mixed greens made at home. And 7:30 p.m. Bluebell cherry vanilla ice cream. Okay, I wrote a list of ingredients for the macaroni. Do I have anything else to say? I mean, I don't know. I'm just eating kibble all day. This was a terrible day. I ate cereal, then I ate potato chips and tortilla chips. I'm just eating human kibble. Okay, 3/4 of a pound of shells. I really should have just used the whole pound. 2 cups of leftover chicken, or you could do a rotisserie chicken. I had leftover chicken thighs from when I made that stock. What did I use the other portion of chicken for? Oh, soup. I used the white meat for soup. 4 cups of baby greens, 5 ounces of Kerrygold Reserve, it's cheddar, 5 ounces of Henning's garlic and dill cheddar, 1 tablespoon of bacon fat, half of an onion diced, 3 garlic cloves minced, 1/4 cup of flour, half a cup of her Sauvignon Blanc, 2.5 cups of milk, half a cup of sour cream, 1 teaspoon of Grey Poupon Dijon mustard, 1 container of cookout buffalo sauce, 4 tablespoons of butter, half a cup of grated Parmesan, 1 cup of leftover garlic and Meyer lemon breadcrumbs, salt and pepper to taste. So, I cooked the macaroni as you do, left it in a bowl with some butter. And let's see, I cooked out the onion and garlic, made a roux with the flour and the wine instead of the milk. I put the wine in first. Then I added the milk, a little bit of sour cream, seasoned it with the Grey Poupon and the container of cookout buffalo sauce. I'm finally down to one of those left. They gave us so many when I went to cookout with my sisters. And what else? Then I poured that over the shells. Well, I wilted the baby greens in the sauce. Did I? Yeah. And heated up the chicken. Added the baby greens and the chicken to the sauce. Heated it up. Oh, and the cheese, of course. Put the cheese in once the milk was fairly thick or starting to thicken. And I mixed it all together and I put it in a buttered Pyrex dish, my old-fashioned Pyrex, the 8x12 one, oddly shaped and pretty shallow. Yeah, I think it's a 2-quart capacity, and covered with parm and breadcrumbs and some tabs of butter. This was really good. I think at first I was like, there's way too much sauce. This is insane. I should have used a full pound of shells. But I think because there was so much sauce, it retained its sauciness even when baking in the oven. So it had a super crisp top because I'm maximizing the surface area in this like really shallow dish, but it was still super saucy. So this was kind of perfect compared to the last time when I made mac and there was not enough sauce. Like the noodles absorbed most of it. So this was great, I thought. And as we're eating this Bluebell cherry vanilla ice cream every night, Brian and I were commenting on it and we looked at each other and at the same time we said we should do a Shirley Temple float. So that's happening later in this episode, but I mentioned it to my mother and she said that her mother, my grandmother, used to make horse's necks, like a non-alcoholic horse's neck. And I was like, okay. I looked it up and that's just ginger ale. So I guess she was serving them ginger ale. The only thing that makes it a horse's neck is like a super long lemon peel in the glass. Okay, I just had to pause because Brian walked in the room because he had to use my bathroom because the bathroom closest to him, he was afraid that everybody on the Zoom call would hear him using the bathroom. I told him, you can mute Zoom. I guess he didn't know that. I'm glad he knows now. They asked him several times during this interview process, do you know how to use a computer? So they were onto something. Okay, anyway, a horse's neck. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe my grandmother was making her children bourbons and ginger ale. I don't know. January 21st, 2026. It was a Wednesday. 7 a.m. Leftover coffee with half and half and a bowl of bran flakes with milk. 11 a.m. Leftover macaroni and cheese and a cup of coffee with 0 sugar hazelnut creamer at the office. The cake room. A Tupperware container of Samoas and a large Ziploc bag of pistachio crinkle cookies. 4 p.m. Half a bottle of GT's Trilogy kombucha. 6 p.m. Fried basmati rice with leftover ground pork, scrambled egg, Napa cabbage, green peas, and onion made at home. 7 p.m. Part of a caramel sandwich cookie, part of a pistachio grandma cookie, part of a raspberry checkerboard cookie, and half of a lemon sandwich cookie from Whole Foods. Okay. A huge mistake. I put 2 of those little cups of Coffee Mate brand hazelnut creamer in my cup of coffee. I usually do like 2 little tiny cups of those, uh, like, I don't know what you call them. They're dairy. Are they non-dairy, but they're liquid? Anyway, the zero sugar are disgusting, and you really should only put one of them in your coffee. I do regret not trying the pistachio crinkle cookie that was available in the cake room. I am weary of trying a stranger's cookies. I didn't see who put the cookies in the cake room. No note was left. They were labeled, but I don't know who made them, so I'm not going to eat them. This leftover, I used that leftover ginger pork. I had a tiny bit left over and some fried rice, and that was great. And the rice that I made, I pre-cooked the rice for that stuffed cabbage. I usually do a 1-to-1 ratio every time, every single time. I never understand when people do a 2-to-1 ratio and use double the water for rice. Never works out for me. I always do a 1-to-1. That's how I was taught at Mission Chinese. You always do a 1-to-1 for rice. I used less than 1 parts of water for this. So the rice was even drier, which I thought was perfect for the stuffed cabbage and perfect for the fried rice. Every single grain was individual. Okay, so let's talk about these cookies that I got from Whole Foods. I am always tempted by the Whole Foods cookie bar. The last time I've had Whole Foods cookie bar cookies, when I worked on that farm, somebody brought a bunch of them to work, and it was like super hot out. And I cannot eat chocolate when it is hot out. It's just like, it reminds me of being at the mall when I was little, and my mom would get me something chocolate, and then I would be hot and thirsty at the mall for the rest of the day. So hot and thirsty at the mall. And like too little to vouch for myself properly and be like, I'm dying of thirst. So yeah, hot summer day, eating those like chocolate lace cookies, and I was like, I'm gonna die. So I've avoided them, but I was like, well, it's winter now. Let me get some cookies from the cookie bar. Complaint number 1. Why is there not a list somewhere of the cookies that are in the Whole Foods cookie bar? They need, like, when I Google these cookies, the only place that I'm finding them is like some random Facebook page where someone is trying to recreate these for a wedding and they're posting the recipe and they look kind of off, or like a Pinterest photo with a caption and no other information. Like, Pinterest is just like a giant dead end. It's like where you find a photo and that's it. No further information. So I'm super frustrated by that. I want to know more information about the cookies. Like, I want to be able to find the ingredients online, descriptions, anything. So there was a caramel sandwich cookie that was kind of fluted or scalloped or like a flower, and it had a hole in the middle. The sandwich cookie, the cookie part itself tasted like a Lorna Doone. Have you had one of those? It's like a shortbread. So that was fine, but the caramel itself was like super flat and cheap tasting. It needed salt. The raspberry checkerboard cookie tasted like mall coffee. Could be, I always thought that was like a 90s thing, but Brian loves to go to the mall. So sometimes we go to the mall, and there's this one mall in particular where there's a coffee cart right out front that pumps out 90s mall scent. So this is just mall scent, I'm realizing. Sweet, sweet coffee. So the raspberry checkerboard cookie tastes like that. I don't know if it's like an espresso mocha cookie. Again, I'm judging these blind. The bottom was dipped in chocolate, and then I'm assuming the pink portions of the checkerboards are raspberry flavored, and maybe the darker parts of the checkerboard were mocha or espresso or coffee. The lemon sandwich cookie was pretty good. The cookie itself reminded me of the Pepperidge Farm Brussels cookies. I mean, the whole thing reminded me of that, where it's like a kind of bumpy, thin lace style cookie with like a really thin glaze in between the two cookies, and they're sort of rounded. I think that this cookie had coconut in it. The pistachio cookie was a domed cookie, domed and dipped. It was foul. I know it was pistachio flavor, but it tasted off. I hated it. It was beautiful though. And the caramel sandwich cookies reminded me of the alfajores that I would make when I worked at Good Ambler in Chicago, which were amazing. And I mean, I would work really long shifts there, no lunch break. I lost a ton of weight. I was just like on my feet all day working there. Kind of miss it, except the people were awful. I liked the work itself, except we also had a ticket system, and I was the only person who had to make all the tickets. That was awful. While I was like making bread, making cookies, making all this stuff, I also had to fulfill tickets for sandwiches, which was a nightmare. Like while I had things in the oven that I had to rotate and take out. Kind of stressful. But that's just working in a kitchen. I think what was frustrating about it is that I was the only one who had that on top of my list of things that I had to prep and make, which felt unfair. Anyway, I would make these alfajores and I would steal one and eat it while I walked to the train. As I was starving, running home so I could find food. And I wrote down the recipe, and here it is. So first of all, this recipe is ridiculous because it makes like, I mean, I wish I remember how many cookies it made. I don't know, maybe like 40 or 50 cookies. So there's a cookie recipe for the actual cookie part, and then there's a gold ganache recipe. That's the filling. So I'll start with the gold ganache. 675 grams of cream, 1,200 grams of sugar, 825 grams of gold chocolate, 180 grams of butter, 12 grams of salt. So you make a dry caramel with the sugar. You add the cream in 4 parts until smooth. Let it bubble. Pour the caramel through a fine mesh over a bowl that contains the chocolate, the butter, and the salt. And you're going to mix that all together until smooth. And then you're going to pour that out onto a half sheet tray that has a silpat on the bottom. You're going to wrap it with plastic and you're going to chill it. And as a reminder, a half sheet tray is a regular household sheet tray. The dough itself is 2,004 grams of cornstarch, 1,536 grams of flour, 60 grams of baking powder, 48 grams of salt, 1,692 grams of butter, 1,632 grams of sugar, 660 grams of yolks, 100 grams of vanilla. Cream the butter and the sugar on low speed. Emulsify the yolks and vanilla into that. Add the dry ingredients. Roll out the dough to about a 1/4 inch thickness and chill on a sheet tray. It feels like, I don't know how many sheet trays you need, but you need a good amount of sheet trays for that quantity. And I would roll it out on we had like an automatic machine that we would roll dough out on, because we made so many croissants, we needed one. And I would roll this dough out on that. I actually hated it. I don't know why I couldn't just do it by hand. I guess it is more uniform. So, and then I would roll those up and I think I would actually freeze them because, I don't remember. I would make the dough in bulk and then only use. Yeah, that's the thing. I would make this dough in bulk and then freeze part of it, but then bake off some of it and use it for the ganache filling. So yeah, I don't know. I actually don't know like what the ratio would be. So this is like completely unhelpful. But I mean, you could just like look at the cornstarch and the flour and then like you could easily divide this by like 10 and try and match it to a standard cookie recipe. Wait. Okay. So anyway, you have your chilled dough on a sheet tray. Then you're going to cut out 2 3/4 inch circles and bake them at 325 for 11 minutes. I always rotate halfway through. I would switch, we had like huge ovens where, you spin the tray, but you also switch what rack they're on. And then I would fill a piping bag with the gold ganache and pipe it into the center of half of the cookie halves. Half of the cookies, because they're all halves. The bottom side. And then you sandwich them together so that the tops are the tops of the cookies are on the outside. You know how to make a sandwich cookie. You get the concept. Anyway, that's a great recipe. I guess I would recommend like dividing by 10 for everything. Maybe I'll rework it and try and make a reasonable recipe out of that. I don't really know. I mean, where do you get gold chocolate? I'm sure I could order gold chocolate. I don't even remember what gold chocolate is anymore. I think it's like slightly toasted or like caramelized white chocolate. What is gold chocolate? Hold on. It was very popular at the time. I don't really like go to bakeries, so I don't really know what's up except for the flattened croissants that look like they've been run over. Gold chocolate is caramelized white chocolate. Yeah, okay, so right. Developed by Kaibo. Yes. Cool. So that was good. It was like nice and salty, which I liked. And I think it tasted so good because I was literally starving. And the cookie has so much cornstarch in it that it sort of falls apart and it's very light. Okay, January 22nd, 2026. It was a Thursday. 8 a.m. Counterculture coffee with half and half made at home. 10 a.m. A bowl of bran flakes with milk. 11 a.m. A slice of forbidden rice sourdough. Let me edit this. It's seeded forbidden rice sourdough with Isigny Saint Merboul d'Isigny. Okay. That butter. French butter. 1 p.m. A handful of rippled potato chips and half a bottle of GT's Trilogy kombucha. 6 p.m. Beef stew with carrots, onions, peas made at home. 7 p.m. Half a can of lemon lime culture pop and a raspberry pie cookie from Whole Foods. Okay. So yeah. So this is Thursday. The previous day, Wednesday, I went to Whole Foods. People were panic buying at this point because the weather forecast was saying that we were going to get 2 feet of snow, which in North Carolina is insane. Of course, I have like my driveway is like half a mile long and it's gravel, so you can't really shovel it. Also, our tractor is in the shop, so I was like, well, we're fucked. So I went to Whole Foods. I was like, let me get some stuff. And in case we're stuck in the house, and the bread was gone. I mean, people were like losing their minds. I found some rice bread made from forbidden rice, that like black purple rice. It was seeded. So I tried a piece of that with some French butter. I thought I was breaking all my teeth when I bit down on a salt crystal in the butter, but it was good, not mind blowing. It's 80% fat. Um, I got some beef, some chuck roast. Expensive now that I think about it. I think I paid $10 for a pound of chuck roast, which is insane. But it was like humane certified, I guess. Anyway, I thought it's gonna be cold. Let me make beef stew. My mom always made it growing up. I think she made like an Ina Garten version, and I loved it. So I used like 1 pound of chuck roast. It was already cubed. I salted that and left it in the fridge, and then I tossed it with flour right before I wanted to fry it off, which I don't think I would do that again because it made the beef stew too gloopy. I like a thinner beef stew. When I did serve it as a leftover, I could thin it out, but I think it initially made it too gloopy. So I used a tablespoon of olive oil, pound of chuck roast cubed, 1.5 white onions, chunked, 3 large carrots cut obliquely, 1 heaping cup of frozen green peas, 6 cloves of garlic, 1/4 cup of tomato paste, 1 cup of her Sauvignon Blanc, 1/2 teaspoon of Gustiamo oregano di Pantelleria, 1 handful of thyme stems, 2 bay leaves, 1 quart of chicken stock. This was great. I used white wine because I had a bottle open. I needed to use it. I know a red wine is probably more traditional, or a sherry. I kept having dreams that I had mushrooms in the fridge that I need to use. So that would have been nice, but that was not real, obviously. That would have been perfect in this. I thought about going to the grocery store again, but I was like, I don't know. It feels stupid. And would I change anything? Yeah, I mean, I talked about the flour. I like to look at I looked at a couple like different beef stew variations on Serious Eats, and they had like a bourguignon version. They had like an all-American version. Oh wait, I forgot some ingredients. 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce and 1 tablespoon of soy sauce. And of course, Serious Eats was like, put a bunch of fish sauce in there, put a whole thing of anchovies in there. I was like, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to do that. The only thing of anchovies I have is like a $10 tin of anchovies that I was going to use for like a nice Caesar dressing. I didn't really want to like put them in a soup. I want to eat those a little bit more fresh since they're so expensive. So this was good. I'm trying to, now, did I forget anything else? I don't think so. I don't know. Maybe some parsnips would have been good in it. Oh, potatoes would have been good. That was another reason I was like, should I go out and get potatoes for this? But I don't know. Didn't need it. I guess some crusty bread would have been nice for this. But yeah. So let me talk about this can of lemon lime culture pop. So I'm on the Shirley Temple train, Shirley Temple float train. I think I'm subtly being influenced by the Poppy ads. Poppy has a new flavor, a Shirley Temple flavor. I personally love Shirley Temples, Dirty Shirley's, whatever. Growing up, I'd always get a Shirley Temple when we went out to eat. I will not try the Poppy version. Maybe I will for the sake of this podcast, but it's going to be bad. Anyway, I thought, well, you can make a Shirley Temple with like a Sprite, 7 Up, lemon lime soda or a ginger ale. I don't know what the true version is. I didn't do enough research. My first instinct was ginger ale. Brian's was 7 Up. Maybe there's a continental divide of some sort. I don't know if it matters, but, well, let me look it up. Okay. It's originally ginger ale. Modern version substitute lemon lime soda. Problem solved. Okay. So we're doing an original Shirley Temple. So I bought both a can. Well, first of all, I was like, let me do a lemon lime because I do like that. I like the idea of that. The only lemon lime soda that was available at Whole Foods was this Culture Pop, which tastes somewhere in between a soda and a poppy. So it still sort of tastes like you're drinking water. And I thought, this is going to suck. This is going to make this float taste nasty. So I just split the can with Brian and we drank it. And I ate another cookie from the raspberry pie. Sorry, I ate another cookie from the Whole Foods bar. I got a whole bag of them. This one was a raspberry pie cookie. I loved this. Oh, wait, let me go back to the Culture Pop lemon lime for a second. The last ingredient listed was cardamom extract, which neither of us could detect. Why even bother? Okay, so raspberry pie cookie review. So it was a plain shortbread base topped with a layer of raspberry jam, which was then topped with a uniform cinnamon streusel-esque layer. Like I don't know, like they melted it down and baked it flat. And then it was half dipped in like a white chocolate glaze. I don't know. The semi-dip made them all kind of look broken. I was confused at first. I thought they were supposed to be covered and like the half of the shell came off. It tasted like a crunchy version of the Entenmann's Raspberry Danish. Delicious. I loved it. Would buy again. I don't know if I would buy it again, but I was happy about it. I was happy that I picked it out. I also tried a pecan cookie, like a nibble of that was in the bag. It was little, covered in powdered sugar, and I thought, this is going to be great. This is going to be like the Keebler Danish wedding cookie that would come in like the dark pink, medium to dark pink bags in the 90s. I think they still make them, but they're hard to find. Or like a Mexican wedding cookie. My dad was obsessed with those. We would always eat them around the holidays with family. This was not that. This was not as good as that. This was more of like one of those dry ass anise flavored Italian cookies that you get. You get like 9 different varieties and they all taste the same at an Italian bakery. Okay. January 23rd, 2026. It was a Friday. 7 a.m. Counterculture coffee with half and half made at home and a bowl of bran flakes with milk. 10:30 a.m. Leftover fried rice and a can of Blue Bottle cold brew with creamer at the office. Cake room. New York Times page a day recipes for white bean rice and dill soup and Brussels sprouts Caesar salad. 4 p.m. Potato chip crumbs. 6 p.m. Leftover macaroni and cheese. 7 p.m. Blue Bell cherry vanilla ice cream with ginger ale. Okay, so it was Friday, and by this point, the weather forecast was changing, and they're like, we're getting an ice storm. We're getting up to an inch of ice. The last time that happened, Raleigh got half an inch of ice in 2002. Brian said that they were out of power for like 2 weeks. So Brian's mom called me. She's like, I'm going to Sam's. What do y'all want? And I panicked, got up early and went to Whole Foods before my shift at work because I was like, there's nothing there. They actually restocked and everything was fine. But I got a bunch of random dry things that we could eat without power because that was everybody's worry. We weren't going to have power for a week. Brian's parents have a generator, but we can't eat it. We can't stay at their house for a week. Brian would probably end up murdering us all. So I went and got some random things and got back. I got one of those half cans, baby cans of Blue Bottle cold brew, which I haven't had in a while. I think they opened one in Chicago in like a hotel lobby at one point. I went there. But when they opened in New York, I remember it was like the thing, and you would go and get the New Orleans coffee. They like opened in Williamsburg, and it was, you would stand in like a 2-hour line to get iced coffee. That was like the beginning of line culture in Williamsburg. Thank God I left. And yeah, I don't know. I was up so early that day. By the time it was 10 a.m., I had to house some fried rice and drink Blue Bottle cold brew, which made me jittery as hell. It was also $5.50 for a half can. I don't know why I bought it. I mean, it's fine. It tastes like cold brew. The New Orleans style that they do, it's like a spiced, sweetened, like Vietnamese style. It's good. So let me report on some of my coworkers' lunch habits. There aren't many people in the office on Friday, so I'm really up in other people's lunch and seeing what they're doing. The coworker with the bread and jam for Francis lunch spread was eating a whole unpeeled carrot, a microwavable bowl of rice, black beans, and corn, and a whole bag of kettle-style potato chips. Another coworker had a lunchbox that they opened, and the only thing inside of it was a Tupperware container of grapes. They then commented that they needed to go out and buy a bunch of wine for the storm. Maybe they're on an all grape diet. I told Brian this, and he was like, okay, so they were eating pre-wine for lunch. This same coworker, the last time I saw what they were eating for lunch, opened up their lunchbox to find a Ziploc bag full of sliced peppers. I don't know if they're packing this for themselves or if someone else is torturing them, but it's not good. I was telling Brian about this. I was telling him about grocery stores, people panicking. I don't know why he brought this up, but he said that there used to be one of our food lines used to be a Piggly Wiggly. It's now not even a grocery store anymore, I don't think. And this Piggly Wiggly had a giant hole in the ground. And instead of fixing it, the workers would just sweep all the dirt and the trash into it. And you would have to navigate around it in the store and hope that your cart didn't get stuck in it. Anyway, 7 p.m. we ate a Shirley Temple float. It was good. Brian was really into it. I mean, it was mostly ice cream. It was more of like an affogato. It was more of like a Shirley Temple affogato, if that makes sense. Like, it's mostly ice cream with a little bit of ginger ale poured over it. And it was good. A little icy, I would say. The ginger ale iced everything up. And I think, some actual grenadine would have been nice. January 24th. Ooh, or you know what? Some like falernum. Or like, I don't know, when I would do all the cocktail and punch prep in Chicago for Punch House and all the Talia Hall bars, I would make like all these like falernum syrups, like velvet falernum, or like tiki syrups with like cinnamon and allspice and all these like spice syrups. That would have been great in it. January 24th, 2026, it was a Saturday, 8 a.m. Counterculture coffee with half and half, made at home. 12:30 p.m. jasmine tea, dan dan noodles, cumin lamb with rice, Japanese style crispy tofu with ground pork, and soup dumplings at Taipei 101 in Cary, North Carolina. 4 p.m. a Hershey's strawberry cream filled heart, a strawberry filled Hershey Kiss, and a Hershey's pink cookies and cream heart. 6 p.m., a chocolate covered chocolate mousse cookie from Whole Foods. Wait, is that real? Wait. I think. Okay, let's start at the beginning of this day. So this was the day that the storm was about to start, and I was like, let's go out and do something before we are potentially locked in our homes without power for a week. So we went to Taipei 101 in Cary. Cary is in the triangle, CARY. It stands for Centralized Area for Retired Yankees. A lot of Northerners there, large Asian community there, so there are a lot of good Asian restaurants. There's an H Mart. So I went to Taipei 101. This place rocked. This was a place that I'm going back to. Everything was amazing. I don't know how they do this. I love like the Japanese style crispy tofu. It's usually salt and pepper tofu. Super creamy, almost like an egg custard. Maybe it is egg. I ordered it with ground pork and egg. I don't know if I would get this version again. It came in like a reddish, maybe tomatoey ketchup sauce with ground pork in it. Maybe not the sauce. I think the salt and pepper version is better. But everything was incredible. Wonderful. It was across the street from a Tafara, which was shocking. Tafara, very famous in South Brooklyn. I took my youngest sister there once when she visited New York. We went and ate there in the afternoon while the owner was still alive and making pizza. I think he made the pizza every day. So we went before the owner died. They've expanded since. This Tafara pizza in Cary has some pretty bad reviews on the internet. The Yelp is not doing too well. There's some Reddit threads where people are mad. Apparently the pizza place in Cary that you should go to is called Mezzaluna. But there are a couple other places in Cary that I want to try. There's a koi ramen spot that is supposed to be amazing. I mean, I'm definitely going back to Cary for more Asian food, that's for sure. Yeah, this was great. Really hard to pick, too. I mean, I would just go back here and order like 4 more rounds of meals. And they only had one special. I think it was snow peas. Very mysterious. And then while we were in the restaurant, the snow forecast moved up. They're like, the snow is starting now. So we're like, oh shit. I was gonna suggest we go to the mall. I need a new phone. But I was like, I don't want to be stressed in the mall trying to get a new phone and also trying to get home. Who knows how long that's going to take. So we stopped at Walmart because Brian obviously needed Coke Zero. And I have a candy jar now. I have a candy bowl because I'm elderly. And I wanted to get some foiled hearts to put in it. I was going to order them from like that family chocolate store from Connecticut, but they're so expensive. And I'm not really eating these. These are just for people who come in the house. I mean, it's really just Brian eating all of them. But I tried some new items. So they had a strawberry cream filled heart, which was fine, good. I mean, like a step above a Russell Stover's. They had a strawberry filled Hershey's Kiss, which was pretty good. It wasn't cream. It was more like a strawberry jelly. And then they had a pink cookies and cream heart, which was fine. The smell of these, they smell like a toaster strudel, and they're right behind my head. I think I understand now why my grandmother had a lid on her crystal jar of Hershey Kisses or whatever was in there, because I can smell it. And then at night, I ate a it was a mysterious chocolate covered cookie with a shortbread cookie base and then a mousse inside, like a mousse dome, and then it was all enrobed in chocolate. But it was like pumpkin spice flavored, but I also think chocolate. I don't know. I wish there was a list somewhere. I cannot figure out what this cookie was. I'm Googling. Nothing's coming up except for Facebook groups that I don't want to be a part of. And I mean, it was great. What else am I going to say? I ate the whole thing. Fought over it with Brian. I ate most of it. January 25th, 2026. It was a Sunday. 9 a.m. Counterculture coffee with half and half made at home. Leftover beef stew and Stacy's Parmesan and garlic pita chips. 1 p.m. Chili, cornbread with salted butter, a small pour of Merlot, and chocolate chip cookies with walnuts at Brian's parents' house. 3 p.m. Microwave popcorn at Brian's parents' house. 5:30 p.m. A pour of Duchesse de Bourgogne, I can never pronounce that, Bourgogne Flemish red ale, and half of a raspberry checkerboard cookie from Whole Foods. So we were expecting to lose power the previous night, which didn't happen. Sunday we woke up, still had power. I was like, well, let's eat this leftover beef stew before we lose power. Let me eat these Parmesan garlic pita chips before we lose power, which were nasty. Taste burnt. Dry and burnt. We went over to Brian's parents' house because they thought, again, we were going to lose power. They have a generator. They have a fireplace. Brian was mad. He was like, why are we going to go eat lukewarm chili at my mom's house right before we lose access to our toilets? I don't know how he knew it was going to be lukewarm, but it was. Chef cornbread, my favorite. Northern style cornbread. These chocolate chip cookies were great. They were tiny, very little, and packed with chocolate chips. They're very buttery. They had a few walnuts in there. Every so often you'd get a walnut. Not too many walnuts. Homemade. And then microwave popcorn. We watched The Pit, which was traumatic. And then we watched the Patriots-Broncos game. We watched half of it before we went home because it was supposed to start icing. And didn't want to walk home in that. Got home and opened. I was like, well, we're definitely going to lose power now. I mean, we have to lose power. So I opened a bottle of Flemish red ale that I originally gotten for New Year's. We never drank it. It's good. It's a little sweet for my liking. But I do love a Flemish red ale. I love a sour Flanders. And then I was like, let's just eat the rest of these Whole Foods cookies. The raspberry checkerboard cookie from Whole Foods makes me want makes me want a rainbow cookie. That's really what I want. I wish I had access to rainbow cookies. And then I went on the Wikipedia page for this Flemish red ale. Per Wikipedia, the name of the beer is meant to honor Duchess Mary of Burgundy, the only daughter of Charles the Bold, who was born in Brussels in 1457 and died in a horse riding accident in 1482. Okay, talk to you guys next week.